Rolling. Um,
Huzzah.
oh, well, we're so excited to have both of you here today. Like, so thrilled. I can't even tell you how excited we are to talk to you. And we had lots of fun fan questions rolling in. Everybody's so interested to get to know you both very much more than we already do. But yeah, we just wanted to thank you. As for those that are watching this later on, these are our lovely writers of Station 19, Season 7, Episode 7, and it was called Give It All. But yeah, thank you for coming and hanging out with the Fire Nerds today. We really appreciate you guys. And I'll let Susan do your intros.
For people that don't know, we're just gonna throw some background info on you, and you guys can elaborate more if you want. For Leo, my daughter just walked by.
Sometimes I inhabit a Leo energy, so it's totally
fine. Grey's Anatomy production staff. On season 5, you came in as a writer and story editor of season 6, and executive story editor for season 7. You're program writer at Walt Disney Television, and you spent lots of time in Spain creatively mentoring and teaching English to the youth. Heidi, Cherokee Sioux, Polish American writer, producer, and actor, former Miss USO, songwriter and singer. And in 2023, you had your Disney ABC fellowship. And you came on season 7 as one of the 2 additional writers that they hired. That was very exciting.
very exciting.
Yeah, last week we interviewed Zoanne and Peter, and they talked a little bit about that as well.
About how much they did not want to bring another writer.
Yes, they did. And everyone got to write an episode, which was amazing because of how condensed everything was and how little time you guys had.
Yeah.
So I guess for Heidi, tell us a little bit about your history with Miss USO and all that.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. And also I just want to say how grateful I'm seeing Leah for the first time in a long time. It's making me get choked up a little just because this whole experience was such an enormous gift to me. And the fact that that Peter and Zoanne gave me this opportunity, it's making me choked up. So thank you all. And thank you, Leah. And thank you for having us today. And yes, so there aren't any more Miss USOs. In fact, they even sunsetted the performance group. I just found out recently. So, but I'm the last and longest, and I performed for the USO for a long time. And I come from a long line of service members, but I rode the thing that had me really jump in. I rode the school bus with a boy named Aaron Menken, and he was like the kind of person that lights up every single room, like they just glow when they walk in a room. And we stayed in touch. He joined the Marine Corps late and was actually wounded just outside of Fallujah, and spent 2 or 3 years at Brooke Army Medical just fighting for his life. And when I was trying to decide if, after all of the school that I had gone through for like classical theater and writing, like what would be the next thing, I thought of Aaron, and that's why I joined the USO, and why I wanted to be that kind of light for people like Aaron.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. We did read online that you have a Taylor Swift story.
Oh,
elaborate?
I don't even know,
because we have Taylor Swift stories as well.
Oh, well, who doesn't love Taylor Swift?
I know, right?
Yeah, it was actually my very first New Year's Eve in Times Square, and it was also the coldest New Year's Eve ever since 1919. So since 1919, the coldest New Year's, and it was 19 below zero. Oh. And we had to wear these like costumes it was fishnets and a bedazzled jacket. So I had all these like hand warmers tucked everywhere, trying to stay warm. So you'd go inside and your body was on fire, but outside you didn't feel them at all. And there was one space heater, and we performed right before this. And I didn't even know. I was so cold that I had been sitting back there chatting and chilling out with this father and daughter, and it was Taylor Swift and her dad, and we were huddled around a space heater, shivering, right before we all performed. And she tried to take her jacket off mid-performance and then thought better of it back on, but they told me I couldn't wear the jacket, so I was literally, my leg was going like this the entire time I was trying to sing. It wasn't pretty.
It sounds like torture, trying to sing and be, on your, smiling and be happy, and then just freezing inside.
Yeah, freezing, but yeah, they were both really, really kind and just down to earth. And yes, that's my Taylor Swift story.
Awesome.
We have a lot of Swifties that watch, so we're like, we gotta touch on that. No, thanks for sharing that. Leah, I have a question for you. When did you realize you wanted to be a writer, and the love for writing that you had?
Mm-hmm. That's like the only thing I've ever wanted to be, since I was a little kid, but I started writing stories around like fourth or fifth grade. And I read like a lot of fantasy sci-fi as a kid growing up. But I feel like I was a terrible student because in class, I just had like my little like mead composition, journal, and I would just like write stories or, attempts to write stories, whatever, like short stories, and instead of paying attention to the teacher. So that was sort of like my first foray into creative writing. And yeah, it just took a hold of me, really. Like that's all I ever wanted to do was tell stories, you know, be funny with my friends, just really I wanted to love what I did as, as a career. And there was just really no other option for me. I mean, I've obviously gone through my battles with writing because it's just freaking hard, guys. Writing is really hard.
Yeah.
And so in college, I minored in creative writing, but that's when I first started taking my first screenwriting classes. And but it was really like here in LA in like writing groups. Like I learned like the art of feedback, because that's a whole other thing, is you can write, but like the art is really like in the editing. And I didn't go to film school. I did comm with like an emphasis in filmmaking, but this was in like Santa Clara, that it wasn't like the big schools. It was like a really, really tiny program in Silicon Valley, which was nice at the same time because it's like there wasn't that pressure of like we're a film school, we did it. So we were just like, we were just having fun, me and my fellow classmates, and just like doing film in the Bay Area for the love of it, right? So when I graduated, I had wanted to stay in the Bay Area, but there wasn't that like, I mean, the Bay Area is an amazing creative hub, but it had been changing for years, before I had graduated. So I had friends that moved to like LA and were like, entertainment is here, like come, sublet, with me and, try to figure it out here. So that's when I came here, and I really did sort of like more of a DIY, how to write, how to be in this industry, like sort of like doing it by myself, in jobs, but no one had held my hand and was like, this is how you do it. So I really had to like figure that out by myself along the way. But yeah, for writing, there was just no option, I'm so lucky to even have fulfilled that dream.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Heidi, you've had such an amazing and interesting inspiring life journey? Is there something that shapes your storytelling?
Leah, no, I'm kidding. Um, yeah, I think so. I think, I think story has always, just like Leah was saying, story has always been really, really important and formative, culturally and in practice. Like, it's how I processed a lot, because I had a very traumatic childhood. So I think too, like, being a young person and not seeing myself on a lot of the programming, I kind of, story was how making up my own stories was kind of how I kind of understood the world. And then, um, I think I'm losing track of the question. I'm gonna go off on left field, but what, can you say it again?
Yeah. Let's see here. Just, was there anything specifically that shapes your storytelling perspective?
Yes, then that is everything that I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was 4 years old, I had to testify against my biological father. And part of how they proved that a young person could remember all of these terrible things was, I told the story of Snow White, like the Disney Snow White, on the witness stand. Um, verbatim, beginning to end, 4 years later, that's part of. So then to kind of see your life come full circle, and to get to not feel like you have a voice as a young person, but then to have story be the way that it opened up, and then to come into the Disney Fellowship, which was the version of Snow White that I told on the witness stand, was like,
Yeah.
kind of all of the pieces of your life slot together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were and we were both in the same program, but 2 years apart. Yeah, Heidi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is an
Amazing.
amazing program that
Yeah.
I always be grateful to.
Absolutely. Let's see. What inspired both of you, or is there a person that inspired you to become a writer, or an idol growing up, or a specific writer that you just enjoyed so much that you're like, I want to be a writer because of this person?
Well, for me, like, I always just credit my mom for giving me a love of reading, and like she'll say, or when I was growing up, like, I read to you all the time, like when I was pregnant with you, when you were, when you were born, like, and my dad, I just visited him, and he was saying, like, oh yeah, that's all your mom ever did, was just like, she read to you, and I feel like if I wasn't a voracious reader as a kid, I just wouldn't be a writer, so um for me, like, I just always like to credit her as the reason I am who I am. Because yeah, without that spark of loving storytelling, I don't think that would exist in me. And I'm trying to think of specific, like, writers. I mean, I want to say one writer, but she's canceled, and we don't talk about she who must not be named. That was like a big part of my childhood. Like, I grew up with those books, and that was as a kid, I had never read something, like that. So of course, like, that is part of the journey, when I was like 9, 10, 11. And as I was growing up, I was starting to read, like, Sandra Cisneros, like House on Mango Street was like a really big formative book for me in high school. And seeing that sort of representation, like, there are stories, written for us, by us. So that was when I started to, like, branch out and read, like, other books by, like, Latinx writers, and being like, oh, it does exist, and be part of that movement.
Excellent. Okay, we got some fan questions here specifically.
Oh wait, Heidi, do you have anyone
Yeah.
formative?
I everything Leah said, literally. My mom too. She was very, very, very formative. And just family, my aunties and grandparents, like just those kind of passed down stories. But also randomly, like the show currently known as The Connors, but in past iterations, Marta Kaufman was also in that room, and then went on to do Grace and Frankie, and just and then also just having kind of that show, as it was the closest to kind of my, like, showing parts of my world. So I think just having that kind of window into relatability. But yeah, yes, definitely, my mother brought story into my world.
Shout out to moms, honestly.
Shout out to moms.
Yeah, they're the best.
Keep reading, moms. Okay, Leah in season 5 and Heidi for season 7. What emotions did you feel when you found out that you were like writing on Station 19? What was your initial reactions?
Holy crap. Yeah, it was such an amazing day. I mean, it still doesn't feel real. Like, I don't know if it's to this day, yeah, I think back and I just, none of it feels real. So, it felt like also like a full circle moment, because I had been a post-production assistant on Grey's Anatomy in 2015-16. So to go back into the Shondaland universe was such a gift. So it felt like coming home. I knew I knew like a couple people like in the Grey's room, and but it was a surprise to me, like it was a surprise to them to be like, I'm back. But it just felt yeah, like it was a bizarre full circle moment. Because I had met, yes, a lot of people, but Zoanne I had met on Grey's Anatomy. And so then like when I saw her like in some combined Zoom rooms, I was just like, oh my God, it's and then for her to become our showrunner was just like such a gift, because I had always wanted to work with her, and I had heard nothing but good things about her while I was on Grey's. So yeah, it's been like one of those things where it's bizarre, it's full circle, it's surprising, it's such a mixed bag of emotions, but like I still feel that even today.
Yeah.
I mean, the other part of it was like, oh my God, it's a procedural about firefighting. What? So that was that threw me for like a fun, lovely loop, because I had no idea. But then they're like, oh, we have a guy, we have several consultants, we have, and you'll learn. So that was amazing to be like, you're here because of your voice, and we can teach you. So when I got on the show, it was such a platform of mentorship, in there, and like everyone wants to help you, everyone wants you to succeed. So, and I've heard horror stories on other, experiences. So just to have this specific show, these specific people, these specific characters, this tone, everything was aligning, because I mean, I didn't, of course, when I first got on, I didn't think I would be able to step up, right? But then you're like, oh no, this is a tone that I'm familiar with, like this sort of dramedy, right? I mean, it's not a dramedy, but it's not, there's levity in the show, there's comedy. And for me, I was like, thank God,
Yeah.
that is, I immediately just, I had loved the show before. So getting on it was just like, yes, but until I had that, staffing interview, until they said, I was like, oh yeah, I see it. Like I see this for myself. And the people in the program who you know, champion you, like
Mhm.
they are they're mentoring you too, you know. So for I hadn't like visualized myself on the Station 19 like writing stuff until like I started having those conversations with our mentors in the program. And the fact that they believed in me, like I didn't believe in me, and then they believed in me. So they gave me that gift to sort of believe in myself, and I had to take that into the room, you know, and I felt like I have to prove something, you know. So
Right.
that just having those that support, you know, was really integral to my experience going into the writing room.
Oh,
I blabbered on a lot. I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Great.
Heidi?
No, I'd listen to you talk all day.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Yeah, saying I was terrified. Yeah, because when I was in the Disney program, a strike happened.
Mhm.
And so we were on hold, and and we'd kind of, you know, everything's changed now in terms of like staffing seasons and all of that. But, for that time, that kind of was still a thing, and no more, because the strike was, we didn't have that. So I don't know if it's like, I just kept kind of trying to be, positive. I thought maybe I would go to a different show, and then that fell apart. And then it was such a, it was such a random day when I found out I wasn't doing that, but I had this meeting with Peter and Zoanne at Station 19. And it was actually, I was at a courthouse when I got the call from Liz, getting some paperwork around like my, childhood. And it was just like also a weird kind of full circle moment to have that day that I got this call. And the day of the interview with Peter and Zoanne, what I was taking my mom to, gosh, I'm crying so much today. I was taking my mom it was for my mother's birthday. And I was
Aw.
taking her to Disneyland, and I couldn't afford a hotel room, but I knew she really wanted it. But then I had this meeting, so I got the room so I could come back and do this meeting. And so for me, it was like, the world is like so uncertain. I'm just going to go in this room and have fun with these people. And just knowing, like, I was a foster youth as well. And Peter, being a creator on the Fosters was another moment that it was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like, I'm just excited to get to like be in this conversation, whether I get to be in the show or not. And then to find out when I was at dinner with my mom that I was going to be part of this amazing room was like this huge gift. And I was so scared. But it was, going into that room was like, it almost makes me, Shernold, who was one of our co-EPs, reached out to me, and was sending me things that she already had, like documents and things. And it just made me feel instantly like I wasn't going into this. And Leah kindly, generously talked to me on the phone. I was so, like, I remember thinking of how amazing and smart and cool this person was that was telling, but I also very professional, and I was just really nervous. And but I felt like there were people, and then Xavier also was in the program, and I sat next to him when I first walked in. I remember it was like the warmest presence to sit by on a first day, and I just instantly felt supported and welcomed. And just even small things, like, I knew I wasn't going to write an episode. That was one of the things they said in the meeting. They're like, there are more writers than episodes, that you're not going to get one, but this will be a great opportunity. And I was like, yes, okay, great. So then I knew going in how I'm definitely talking too much. But I knew going in, I was
No,
like,
you're
how
not.
can I be of service? I just wanted to be of value, and so that I could make good on this gift that I had gotten. And so I was like, well, I will pitch, I will be, I will bring new things into the room, I will research. Um, and because I felt like that was my purpose, it made pitching less intimidating, but more so when I did open my mouth, I felt supported. The room was such a space of yes, and even if you heard the idea coming out of your mouth and it was garbage, there would still be, a person in the room that was like, I hear that, I hear what you're saying, but what about this? So it was never it was just, and that environment that Peter and Zoanne created was so special and inclusive, and they were so committed to having new stories and having a world that reflected our world. Um, so I know how huge the gift of this particular room is that I got to be a part of, and an incredible gift of getting to work with Leah, who taught me so much about, advocating for yourself and not being afraid to ask questions. Like, Leah was so collaborative, and where I would be like scared and like, I'm just gonna go in a corner and like write this and then like push it out there and see if it's just it spontaneously combust because it's so horrible. But Leah was like, let's call Henry. Let's involve. She really taught me to not be afraid of using our resources, and also to stand by what you've created and have confidence in what you have put in. I couldn't be more grateful for this. I'm so sad, but I have the save station 19. I'm still believing. Um, but I also, like Leah said, I know that's not always the case. So, but one thing that Peter and Zoanne kind of gave us, is, that you can make this space, you can create what we've created. This can be real wherever you go. That station 19 is not a place, it's a feeling, it's a family, it's creating that for yourself and others.
Yeah,
Girl, you about to make me cry. Like,
I
No, I'm
know.
like, I
yeah,
want to cry now.
We're all crying.
Oh,
I
I
know.
love that. And yeah, we've heard nothing but great things from,
And
interviews
that's
or
what everyone has been saying about
yeah,
Peter and Zoanne is the
environment was
community
just
that
so
they
healthy.
created.
hmm so my next question is for both of you also, which characters, when you came into this role, which characters or stories were you so excited to tell? And what were some examples of stories and pitches that were floating around that you were putting out there, like you mentioned?
I think for me, the sort of one I caught on to was definitely Andy. I felt that um I felt very connected to her because there's just so few Latinx main characters on television. So to get to tell stories about Andy, was really important to me. Like, stories involving her and her mother were floating around in my head. When I first took that pitching meeting, I was like, I felt it was very important for that relationship to be explored and for it to grow and for us to, like, take it on a journey. And there were moments like that. I think we just had a lot of discussions about it. There's just you have to be so economical in our during the season. And also, like, Andy's mom just didn't live in Seattle. So, but I'm still to this day, like, I'm very passionate about that relationship. But yeah, like Andy growing up pretty much as like an only child, up to a certain age, that I felt really connected to that as well. An only child and with like a single parent, with her and Pruitt. And yeah, that was, I just felt so like seen, by that character. I can't find that sort of character anywhere, and I'm just devastated that we're not going to get to see more Andy. We're not going to get to explore more of her journey. I mean, I'm gutted. I'm absolutely like I'm still raging. You know what I mean?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah. It's like I'm just gonna ramble a lot, but like seeing myself and my partner in like Maya and Karina, you know, we're like, I know who is who, you know, in our relationship, and it's like seeing those two characters live out their like family building journey is crazy, because it's like we're also talking about family planning now. So when I would learn things on the show about like IVF or like sperm donors and stuff, like I would tell my partner. So it's like we were both sort of like it was like a similar trajectory, you know. And
Yeah.
whenever my partner is like watching an episode, she'll turn to me and she's like, "Did you write that?" Or like, "Did you pitch that?" Or like, because it mirrors our relationship sometimes. Um and so that has been beautiful, because it's like, when do you like, you don't often see that sort of relationship on screen as much, you know, especially amongst firefighters. So that is really important um for me as well, to see being represented. And you know, even Travis's journey of, you know, he had his sort of like coming out journey with his parents, and that sort of like them getting to an understanding within the family about his queerness, him coming into his queerness. Those were just so beautiful. Those were beautiful and rich stories that I wanted to be a part of, and I couldn't find them on any other shows that I was watching. And I truly felt like that this was the show for me, because I could see myself in each character in different ways. And yeah, just I think those are the first ones that I was really excited about to dig into. And then as you're like coming on the show, you're like learning, you know, I was learning more about the other characters. I was speaking to the actors, you know, about what they wanted to do, what they wanted to bring to the stories. So then like my mind, as you're just on the show for a few seasons, like your mind just gets racing with everyone. Like, where can we take Vic's character? You know, like she's such a caretaker. How can we break out of that? Like, you know, where can we take Jack? You know, like he has such a he yearns for family. Like, how can we get him to like meet family? And so your mind is racing at 100 miles an hour, trying to like think of what is the next level of these characters' journey. Episodic television is so crazy. It's like there's so much story that you can think of and you can fantasize about, and these stories could literally go on and on forever, as you've seen on Grey's Anatomy. Like that
Yeah.
show has gone on and on forever. Like, it's such a gift to be able to you know, you think you've at the end of the season you're like, yeah, we did it. And then the beginning of this next season starts and you're like, okay, like where do we, and then like you have to challenge yourself to keep thinking of where to take those characters. It's hard. It's really, really, really hard. But we have I have an amazing room of 1 million people. It was just like everyone's bouncing off of each other, you know, feeding off of each other's pitches and energies. So just it was such a beautiful process to learn how to pitch, but also like, you know, how to bounce off of each other's pitches. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I still like to this day, I mean, Andy is going to be a really important character for me. You know, I mean, Jaina she's such a gift to work with. Everyone is such a gift to work with. But like, you know, for me, being like a Latino woman, seeing that on screen, getting to work with her, like it meant the world, you know. And she's awesome to work with too. Like I can't stress that enough. So yeah, I was just so lucky. It was like, not only the character is awesome, the performer is awesome. Like what a gift. So yeah, I think for me, like I was here. It was really important for me to like carry on that representation, you know, in the room, on the show. And by some miracle, you know, again, like Heidi, like maybe it'll continue. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. What about you, Heidi?
Oh, everything Leah said. Um, yeah, I think, well, one of the things that I was really excited about with this show is that it's set in Seattle. And so even when I had that first meeting, I was excited to see if that was something that they wanted, because there's all of this time in this incredible city, which has, such a huge Indigenous community and presence, and a city like Seattle that is named for a prolific leader. And I was curious. I was like, there, if you considered, having that be part of what we could do and what you all are doing. That's a great, have you thought about that? Because that would be really great. Because I think there's so many great stories. Seattle's such an incredible place.
No.
And they were like, yeah,
Bag.
already they had already. And Leah, even when we spoke initially, like that was something that the room itself had really wanted to start featuring Indigenous stories. Yeah, because it is Seattle, and so that was something that I was passionate about, and I was so grateful that they also were equally excited about that. And Leah and I had secret plotting agendas that we had that was that. Can we say that? Can we say those things that didn't happen here?
You can say whatever you want.
Go, you say.
No, you say.
we we had other plans for Andy's life, love,
Oh,
future seasons, that we were hopeful that maybe the Tulalip firehouse would be a more active participant in coming seasons, and that essentially that could be a part of her real like love of her life kind of situation. If it goes on, I mean, I know how we finish things with Jack, but also that was our secret little.
yeah. It's cool because you can also be like even though I'm a writer on the show, I'm also like, it felt really good to have like these side conversations with Heidi, because it's like we were also just like writing fan fiction in our heads, and that's what you sort of have to do. You have to be fans of the show too, not just writers of the show, because it's just so much more fun to like pitch ideas that you really want to see happen, not just like, this is what they want to hear. This is what, like, this, I wanted, yeah, I would pitch like I was a fan, so I wanted certain things to happen for certain characters, because I was just like wanting to see things, that we hadn't explored in the past. And yeah, like Heidi said, like in our secret conversations, our hopes and dreams were like seeing more of those firefighters come with us. I mean, they made an appearance again, which was really, really awesome. But again, one day, or in our heads,
Heads, or one day.
or one day.
But yeah, I
I
think
love that. And the Tulalip tribe ended up saving the day. And I was really excited. I knew based off of your episode, I thought, okay, we're gonna see these guys again. I'm gonna see this fire station. I don't know how, but they're gonna go do training with them. And so we were really excited about that. So and that kind of leads into the next question. What inspired the story involving the Tulalip tribe, and how did you make sure to keep it accurate, respectful representation? I know they had sacred rituals that we were very careful with. But how did you guys go about the writing of that portion?
Well, we had we had an amazing gift of Marlon Freiberg, who is a council member, but also the fire commissioner, and also Chief Ryan Shaughnessy with the Tulalip fire station, and the entire every single, they were so supportive. And Marlon was actually our consultant, but also we had, you know, we had Lashutzi featured in the episode as well. So they were a part of every piece of this. And we, I think Leah and I just really wanted to make sure that we honor, that we did right by them, and knowing them personally as well, and just the generosity and the support. They gave us the gift, and none of it would have been possible without them from beginning to end. They were it was such a gift from the community to allow us to tell these stories. And the Tulalip firehouse is extraordinary in that, you know, and that's something that Leah and I were excited to kind of in the episode as it came, but also in future episodes, just the kind of relationship they have with the community. Where 19, I think, and please jump in any place, Leah, if I'm jumbling anything but in my words, but we just wanted to show the difference between like a firehouse in the community and of the community. And they are very much of the community, that they are an active, they are part of that community actively. You know, when they go to a call, they need permission to enter. There is a respect between both the fire station and every I'm sure my firefighter, that's the word. There is between the firefighter and the community member. And we wanted to show that dynamic and how that plays on Andy, and how that is, you know, something I think Andy wants to have as well. And how we could see the way they function up against the way 19 functions, and how, you know, we can learn from each other. And also it was really important for us that we show that they are the heroes of this story, that there's not an example where they are, you know, another instance of, yeah, just painting our Indigenous communities as inaccurately. So we wanted to show that contrast and what it is to be a steward of the land, and to have this relationship with the land and with fire itself, that it is not necessary, it is something that is of value and not just a threat.
Yeah, just to add on to that, like I was just really excited to get to write with Heidi, even because I was like, this is, you know, new territory that we can explore, like if you're comfortable with that, you know. And I felt like Heidi was passionate about that as well. So I just felt like I mean, it was honestly just like a gift to write with Heidi, not just like like we could have written anything and it would have been a gift to write with Heidi, you know. But I felt like we were both pretty passionate about like excavating more of Seattle beyond what we've seen. It was like, let's dig into like, this is Indigenous land, like let us look into it. Like, and I mean, like Heidi was generous to provide, like, she knows these folks, so it's like she provided their context. She was pretty like she was just so generous in her like reaching out and like establishing those connections and sharing them, and just like the support that they gave us, you know. Of course, like we were, yeah, it involved a lot of conversations, a lot of like, you know, having to just constantly check in with each other, because of course this is new territory for me. Like I haven't written like a native story before. So like I also wanted to like be responsible to Heidi, you know, and be accountable, and to like, I wanted you to feel like supported, like along the way. And of course, if anything, I felt like if anything, I trusted that like she would be able to speak up if something, you know, didn't jive, or if something like if I misstep, or if someone misstepped, if someone said like, and you were really good about that. Like you, like Heidi is also like a huge advocate of herself too. And I feel like you have like a really strong compass, and like you don't let anything, like if something bothers you, like I feel like you don't let it, you know, you will address it. So I was immediately like, great, you know, because then I don't have to wonder, like, is something, you know, but I felt like intuitively, like I would know if something was like, you know, bothering her. So, and I felt it too. So I was like, let's talk about it, you know. So it just like required a lot of communication along the way, which is like, that was also a new experience for me. You know, I had never like shepherded anyone in their first episode. So like I was terrified too. Like I was like, I'm gonna suck. Like I had never done that before. So, but if that's sort of like the Station 19 way, is like you learn one, you do one, you teach one. So that, I guess this was my year to like teach one, you know, and I was like, ah. But you know, Heidi knows the business, luckily, like, so she, you know, I learned from her as much as she learned from me. But, you know, doing this specific story, I mean, I suppose like it was I feel like, I don't know if it dawned on you, Heidi, but it definitely dawned on me that like this was a big responsibility, you know. And we were like, I think it was for both of us a learning experience to be like, how do we do this for network TV? You know, that was kind of like daunting. And you know, you just got to speak up, you know, you just got to speak up, and you're not hurting anyone's feelings. You know, everyone wants to know what, like, how to do this correctly and responsibly, and no one wants to like misstep either. So it was just having to be like super, super vocal. And sometimes I'm not the most vocal too. Sometimes I'm not like the best communicator, especially in a room with, you know, higher ups. Like I can get scared too. But this journey definitely showed me that you can't, there's no time for that. So yeah, just like, yeah, the process itself was, you know, at first intimidating, but then you're like, no, we're going to get this right. So just like having the privilege of talking to Ryan, to Marlon, to several members of the Tulalip Fire Department, like the room wanted to be there. You know, they were so supportive. They had questions. They wanted to learn about how the Tulalip Fire Department works in Tulalip, and like the just learning. Sorry, I'm losing track of my thoughts, but like the gift of, we have to ground it in Andy's storyline and Station 19 storyline as well. So it was just like, it had to be like this, like the Tulip had to be the heroes of the story, but we also had to ground it in 19's journey. Like we couldn't just be like, we want to tell this cool story about this fire department, you know? So just the fact that we were able to really, this is like the next piece of Andy's journey. We like we advocated for that, you know, it made sense. Like all the puzzle pieces like really, really came in, like they fit, you know? And I think that's really, I think one of the gifts why we got to write the story is because we were able to ground it in our character's journey. And Vic's storyline too, like that was like, literally that is the piece that gets her thinking about like taking Crisis 1 beyond. So that it was just so many pieces like of people's journeys, of characters' journeys, like it just fit. And yeah, I mean, like I learned, I'm rambling, but like I think this world is so cool. Like I want to keep diving into like that fire department. I want to see just a show about that, you know, that's like the goal. So yeah, they were incredible. Like I can't speak highly enough of their support, like that this story wouldn't be possible. Like if they had been like, nah, we would
Yeah.
have also be like, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was about respecting, like earning their trust, being super communicative with them, like as much as our bosses, as much as the room, as much as each other. It was like really about making sure that they felt held and heard. What do you think, Heidi?
I totally agree that, yeah, absolutely second everything that you said. And just, and Leah is an incredible advocate. Leah gave me space and really supported me as well. Like those conversations we had with each other were really powerful, and they helped me feel like I could speak too. And even to, but it was all as well, like even on set, there was a moment when there was an element like, we went after, actually, we heard that we were being canceled, sadly, in the middle of breaking the episode. So our budget became a huge concern. And I definitely had moments in my heart, especially knowing how many stories we needed to service in the episode. I was really scared inside, in my inside cries, that this story wouldn't happen, that we couldn't afford it. And or that the kind of story that maybe might be expected would be really just cost prohibitive. But Leah and I really, Leah was instrumental in this, at just really looking at how can we tell this story in a way that doesn't make it, that makes it that it is producible, but also honors every single part of it, both the people, the characters, so that we don't lose this really important piece of the episode that we both cared a lot about. And all the way to, you know, maybe when things start getting cut and pieced together and when we're rewriting, you know, just making sure that we keep following and the what had us put it there in the first place. And if it isn't right and it needs to be here, then we need to change it, and we need to, you know, and in our the cast as well. I mean, from Kimberly and Gregory and Sabrina and Jana as well. Like everyone was on board with having it be not only good and moving, but also accurate and specific. And I think for Leah and I, after the episode aired, Marlon sent a little note saying that we did right by the Tule Lip, and it was like the most, it was the biggest gift that we could have gotten.
And to oh man, I had a thought, but it was about, oh yeah, it was you know, we also had to learn, like, if we wanted to keep something in, like we had to learn how to advocate for that. And to like Peter and Zoanne's credits, like they heard us, they like were totally open. You know, they were like receptive to like our ideas, you know, if something was important to us and we didn't want to lose it, like they heard us out and they understood where it was coming from, why it was important. So like, yeah, it was, you know, with their support too, like this episode, you know, came to fruition. And yeah, I mean, again, like I also had to learn how to advocate, you know, with showrunners, you know, but it, you know, that taught me, like, you know, it's as important to them too, you know, if they see it, you know, in you, like that's something that, like, they're people, they get it, you know. Not everyone gets it either, but they understood, you know, where we were coming from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And everything we fought for, it felt like it had a voice in the room. Tessa as well, I felt like was also, and Darren, just Yeah.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
vein.
Darren had, he was well, he was our DP. He was really passionate about playing with colors, you know, and he was doing research into like the colors of Tulalip. He really wanted to be, he wanted it to be like a very rich, like rich visually in contrast to the gender reveal. So it was just really important, just seeing how important it was to like other people working on set, you know, um was amazing. And like that, things like caught me by surprise, like Tessa helped us advocate for like a performer, you know, and she's like, I hear you, like let's bring them in, you know. And hearing Darren, and then hearing like the people on set would come to us and be like, this is such an amazing story, you know, our crew, you know, I felt that I felt held in a way that I hadn't, I don't know. People were just vocal about the importance of the story and what it meant to them.
Mhm.
And that really made me feel like if our crew is impacted, then like we did our job.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Beautifully done.
Yeah. We're going to shift gears a little bit to Maya, Karina,
I knew
and
you were
Mason.
I felt Mason coming.
Yes.
A lot
That
of
was a big
questions, a lot of
topic. That
fan
was a big,
questions
lot of
about
fan questions about that. Um,
I just want to say that Leah and I are probably officially on, no, not probably, definitely on some watch lists for the things we had to Google. I had a thing come up saying like from some agency, like after Googling, like a screen came up with, we want to make sure that it's really you looking at these things. And I just deleted all the cookies, deleted everything.
Delete, clear the cache, delete the
Yes.
cookies.
oh,
yeah, that's interesting. Maya's confrontation with her past is a significant part of the episode, this episode. How did you guys approach writing this arc, and what did you want to convey through the journey? That was a fan question, by the way.
Um, yeah, it took so many like forms, and yeah, it took so many forms for sure. Like I think we were kind of figuring it out as we were writing it. And it's like, especially we didn't know whether it was we wanted to end it with like a closed door or an open door. So I think that's why it took a lot of different forms, because it's like there were a lot of conversations about it like at the beginning.
It was really split on it.
Yeah, the room was really split on it. So I felt like we were trying to like maybe please everyone, and we were trying to like figure out what the room wanted, and there wasn't as much, we were getting closer and closer and closer. But yeah, eventually the idea was like, she has, her purpose is this, she is gonna go save him, you know, and then it takes a turn for the worse, and then it's like, oh shit, I can't have you in my life anymore. That was just you know, it definitely happened in the 11th hour, let's say that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I think too, like we had, there were very like, so like big feelings about this story. And I think that while we all want, I think we knew that if we wrote it where the door was closed, that the acting of it would still leave pieces of light that would come through, which I think there are viewers that want the pieces of light, and there are viewers that want to feel like they are supported in closing a door. Where I think both things are true. And in conversations with Leah, the thing that one of the things I think we came to as a in the room, but also with like the very, very strong voices advocating for maybe the closed door scenario, is what is that experience. We all in the world have seen the stories of like, we hope that there can be a coming together or a changing of a point of view, that a person can change, but not as much do we see this side where there are those people in your life that you just have to close the door. And what does that feel like for the person that closes the door? We don't see what happens after they close the door. We don't see what it feels like to feel like a horrible person for making that choice. And a lot of questions in the room, like Henry and Xavier, all I feel like I can hear them like, but how are we serving our characters? And this is Maya's story. And how do we see what Maya feels like having the childhood she had and having to make that choice for this family, and that moment of second guessing. It's her story, it's what's happening. And I think we just really tried to come to that, regardless of the hope we have for Mason's, redemption. It is hard to make a line in the sand and choose your own family.
Yeah.
And it was just being, as Heidi was talking to, I was like remembering Maya's journey in like last season, and how she was gaining like all of these tools. Like we kind of imply that she's been in therapy with Diane. She's now taking these steps to put herself back together, but like, how do you put yourself back together when you have to like cut off a family member, not just a family member, but your brother, like who she loves so much. And I think she still loves him. Like, of course, that's never going to go away. But like having to, like, without her journey last season, like this could have never happened. She would have tried to save him. She would have just gotten in some toxic mess with him, but like, just, it was so integral to her, to show her growth, to be like, no, you cannot be in my life, and yeah, it's like, it's so real, right? To like cut off a family member because they don't like accept you. And it's so hard. It's gutting to like, it was gutting to write, it got uncomfortable, you know? Um, and that's the beauty of being on this show, of hope being on future shows, will be like, you will write things that you never thought you'll get the assignment and you'll be like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to do today. Cool. So I mean, I feel like, yeah, I learned a lot too, like sometimes you do have to choose, yourself. And that is a really difficult thing to do with family. I have not mastered that art, but seeing somebody do that, it is incredible. And it, for me, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I have family members that aren't accepting, that have said horrible things, but I still see them, and like we pretend like they never said those horrible things. Like, what is that? So to get to have written an episode where like we were able to, and I think Heidi too has gone through a lot of things, and it is further along than me in that journey, but like to externalize that journey, and to be like, this is what you could do. Here's another option. You can not talk to them. You can create a boundary. You can say no. Like you learn so much about yourself in these moments, and writing these stories that are so uncomfortable sometimes. So yeah, getting to write that was like, I don't, you know what I mean? I'm saying that is empowering. It was empowering to write, even though I had not taken those steps myself. But it's like, this might be what it looks like, not just for me, but for other people, who have family members like Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and you took us as an audience for a ride too. I mean, at first you kind of think, oh, there's hope. Like you're with Maya for that ride. Like, okay, she's gonna redeem him. It might take some time, but like we're at the beginning stages. And then you see that shift as you start to see like who Mason's become. And then the cruel words that come out that just like shock your system. And then just her face, the realization that there's no going back from this. So beautifully written. And I think inspiring for some people, like you said, that might be something that will inspire them in their lives to need to cut someone off if that's what it takes to be happy and to feel that happiness.
Yes, I want to talk about Megan Plunkett, who helped, like, supported us in writing that story. She doesn't mind ripping her heart out and freaking stomping on it. Like, you know, she knows how to go there. So she was so helpful. Um, Dan and Mello, Stacy, Emily. Am I leaving anyone out?
Henry on the arbitrary, yeah, well, everything. My gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone like really supported us in helping to create this story and to bringing out the lightness, the darkness, the lawyer speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say he also was like there, everyone was so collaborative, and like just we get messages and be like, oh, I thought of this thing, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is great. And it was just like all that stuff was such a big gift, and the way they all, you know, rallied, you know, like a found family, like
Yeah.
the family we are.
Right.
Yeah. We have another fandom question. Maya having that moment with Beckett in the bathroom. It was a big topic of conversation among the fandom. Did you anticipate it would receive that kind of reaction? And what was the significance of pairing Maya with Beckett of all people?
Mhm. Hmm. You know, originally that interaction was going to be with Travis. I
Oh,
can't remember who pitched Beckett, but like as soon as that was on the table, like I was like, yes, like duh. Like, you know, we because it was we knew that, you know, we were wrapping things up. Like if we were going to go for more seasons, I think we would have had Maya and Beckett be more like contentious with each other. We would have really taken them on like a long FU journey, you know, like that would have been my hopes and dreams, you know, um, because we see often our people are always besties, right? And I feel like we rarely get to see that this sort of pairing, like, you know, butting I mean, they always butt heads, but like literally like we're not friends, like we never see
right.
that. So it would have been my hope to like do that more with them, and we did a little bit. We played with that
Mm-hmm.
in the fifth episode, in the 100th episode. So I was, you know, and I think by then we knew we were wrapping up too. So it was like, you know, of course we want to get them on a good page,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even though it was actually like it wasn't like great, everything's great between us, but like even after that moment in the bathroom scene, they're not going to be best friends. But I feel like there is a like understanding between them, like I got your back, you got my back, and that started in the 100th episode. And it just, you know, we had dropped in that he and his wife had done IVF, you know, like I can't remember in what episode. um so it just felt, you know, he's had to cut his family out. Like it was just the right person to mirror those emotions back to Maya, like from somebody who is on the other side of that. Heidi wrote that scene too. I think you wrote that scene. Yeah, and I remember it was a quiet writing day, you know, and she texted me, she's like, I took a stab at it, and you know, I know that you excavated your own, of course, like we always do, but like I know that she pulled something out of the depths of her soul to like put on into that scene. And like I still cry to this day watching it because it's just so it's amazing. Just like knowing those characters' journeys, the brilliant work that those actors
Yeah.
did. And that
Yeah.
it was, and yeah, it was so like, yeah, I love Danielle and Josh, and he just gives so much space. He's yeah, and then Danielle just like gave it all. And you
Gave it
know,
all.
like they bounced off of each other so beautifully. That is that is like the person she needed, you know, even though the other version where it was Travis like would have been equally beautiful, like that Beckett energy was just something that that Maya just needed in that moment. Like, he gives her the space. He doesn't like, he doesn't ask questions. He knows, you know, there's so much he's saying without saying. So I love that
Yeah.
scene.
That was a turning point too for a lot of fans is, you know, maybe he's not so bad after all. And by the end of
Yeah.
the season, we're like, we really love Beckett now.
Yeah, I
We
never
really
thought I'd love Beckett, but
Yeah, we never thought we would love him as much as we do.
Yes.
And that's all because of you guys.
yeah.
Yay. Yeah, I love it. We've always loved Beck. I mean, you know, when you're the writers, you know, you're excited to bring in a character like that, like an asshole, you know. So it was to bounce off of our like lovely, brilliant, complex characters, you know, it was just fun from the beginning, from season 5, to be like, we kind of like Beckett, like, let's keep him. You know, I don't think
Yeah.
that was the initial plan. I can't remember, but I don't think
Right.
that was the initial plan. And then we just, like, as he and Josh is just so generous and amazing and lovely, like, so I think just we were just excited to keep him on. And yeah, we really did a rehab on that character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and every good story needs a villain, so he was out for a while, and then we're like, oh, okay, we like him now. He
Yeah.
redeemed him.
There always has to be a villain. So yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, he's just complicated.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
got issues like everyone else.
Like everyone. Yeah.
And there is like a
Um,
similarity there too between them, this
Mhm.
brokenness and bravado and kind of, you know, and then to take them in her most vulnerable moment when she took advantage of his, I
Right.
think.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. I think of it that way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was like the least likely person to do it, but like the person that
Yeah.
she probably at that moment.
Exactly.
Let's see. Another fan question. Karina being sued is a notable shift for her character. Zoanne had mentioned that they had this whole, makes us so sad, Safe Station 19, but a whole storyline that was going to be dedicated to like her kind of transforming and maybe wanting to do more ride-alongs and kind of shift her character a little bit there. But that arbitration that she had, what was the motivation behind this change for her in that episode, and this shift where she was, you know, seeing for the first time that this woman, you know, needed more help, and the way she offered it?
I think like one kind of like theme we were talking about in this episode, especially in that first story meeting we had on day 1 of prep, was sort of like systems and how systems work, how you can work within the system, how you can operate outside of them. And there's like an element of that theme in every storyline. So for Karina, it's like she knows that the system is rigged against Christina. God, that's the actor's name. What is the
Character name.
where's the
What's
character?
her name? Um,
You're gonna edit this out.
Edit
Yeah.
this out.
we'll remember it eventually.
Wendy?
Wendy. It's
Wendy. It was
no,
Wendy.
is it Wendy or is that the attorney?
Oh man.
Okay, we're gonna figure this out. I am so sorry. They changed.
Anyways, continue with your thought.
Okay, so she knows that the system is rigged against her, you know. So I think she, once she is like sees that, you know, like I think that her immediately it's like, okay, how can we turn this around? Like, how can we, like, she knows that she's gonna lose, you know, and from that very second scene, I think. So that for her is like, I'm losing track of the question. I'm sorry. I think just going along with like the theme of systems, it's like, how do we get this on her side? Like, how can I operate outside of this system to help her? Right. And that is where we get to at the end, but it's all the steps, because she doesn't know what she's going to do at that on that very last scene until she has like that bathroom moment. But it's like percolating in her head the whole time, like, how do you help Wendy? Because like the system's not going to help Wendy, but I can. Like, I am still her doctor. Like, I am still a provider for, so I can like do this myself because I know that the system's not going to do it for her. I don't know. I feel like I
Right.
checked that up,
That's
Heidi. Is
great.
that
Yeah,
help me?
absolutely. Yeah, no, it's exactly that, because it was a hard it was like, it was hard, at one point we were like, well, does Wendy win? And what does that look like? How's that going to affect Karina's career going forward, her ability to work at a hospital, and could she go to another hospital if she had that on her record? Or in the state of Washington, how does it work, specifically? And just but like Leah said, that we came to that it is about the system, and how there are so many things about the medical industry that are problematic and challenging, and the fact that you have to sue to get help is kind of a big issue on the table that we wanted to talk about, like that she has to sue because she doesn't have the support, and then how can Karina operate outside of that system, like Leah was saying, to come up with a maybe not the solution she totally needs or wanted or hoped or expected for, but how can she be a doctor outside of a hospital as well? How can she serve people outside of the medical industry?
Yeah, we wrote a version. We wrote a version where she did win, I think, or maybe like a beat sheet or outline where she did. And but it wasn't like, we wanted twists and turns. And I think our initial sort of like the way we had written it didn't have those twists and turns, because it's a very subtle story, and that can be tough to convey to audiences, like what is happening. Like it's going to be all in the performance, right? Like, but of course we had Christina and Stefania, and they were lovely. The lawyers were lovely. It's a small story, like but it relied on like the performances to get across the internal workings of each person's mind, because it's not like the Tulalip story, or it's not like the Maya Mason story, where you're seeing a lot of like externalization of what's happening. This is a very like internal story where, so we knew, but like, where were those twists and turns, and it was like, oh, like Karina has to be the hero of this journey. And I think that is ultimately, because it was another 11th hour rewrite, like where we like landed was like, oh yeah, Wendy wins, because of Karina, like, and Karina wins by being the doctor
Who
that
cares?
she is, and that she wants to be a doctor who cares, so it wasn't just about helping Wendy. It's like she's helping herself too in this moment, remembering who she is, that she can operate outside of the system.
To Leah's point about the actors as well, like there was a speech, because in different iterations, like that bathroom scene was like a brawl at one point, like and Christina gave this speech, but she was so good that and we needed to tighten for time, but it was one of the easiest cuts to make, because everything in that speech was in that line about, if you win today, my daughter loses. Like her work was so like, it was just so beautiful that she gave like a whole world in just in a sentence.
Yeah.
That's great.
We have another fan question from Cam. The Bobolini transition was controversial. I've got to ask it, don't hate me. It was controversial among the Marina fans. What were your initial thoughts when you saw the edited process or the final process? And was your vision of what you wrote and what you saw similar, the same, or total, what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think we can say this, like that was a David idea. Was it controversial? I'm not good. I'm not on the social medias, so I don't know what happens there. But tell us what was what are the fans saying? Give me the receipts.
Some were just like it was very juvenile, which David had admitted in our interview. He was like, he got the green light to act like a 13-year-old boy, so he did.
Don't we all have an internal 13-year-old boy?
Right.
No, I mean, I think, well, look, it couldn't have been green light without the showrunners, first
Right.
of all.
He I think he said he was told by Peter, I believe it was, to have a B cut.
Yeah. Yeah, we made sure that like there were all the options, that could be given if and he knows that too, that we needed options for if that didn't work out.
So to each
I
their own.
think once I heard the explanation from David, I was like, oh, I get it. Like he got his chance to play and he always wants to bring the humor in, which I appreciate him for that. And so I think, I don't think there's any harm done on purpose. I think it was literally the fans were worried about the transition from, what's his character? Ben, going to grab and then the Boobalini, says Susan and I refer them to them as. But no, I think that as I've like dug into it a little bit more and watched it more, it was a transition. It was for fun.
It was a transition thing. And a lot of the fans were like upset that they didn't get the ending of where they cut it at the refrigerator. Like they felt it should have been a few seconds more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like, that happens for time.
Like we said, yeah, we've had to cut beautiful, dialogue for time. So it's you and yeah, of course, like in the uncut version, right? There's like more. But I mean, I think Heidi and I have like a comedic pulse, and so I think we're always looking for those moments of levity I mean, we want to laugh, I think both of us love laughing. We had so much fun. I mean, as intense as some of these storylines were, like we were laughing together writing, we were laughing on set with David, he's a hoot. So like, yeah, it's I from the beginning, I was like, our episode is going to be the sexiest episode. Our episode is going to be the funniest episode. I know we have we had such a huge assignment in this episode, but of course, as the writers, you're like, we're gonna write the best episode, like, so there's always like a little bit of that, we have to gas ourselves up, so I knew that I wanted the episode to be funny and sexy and just classic Station 19, you're probably right, the transition's a little bit like it's
out there,
a little bit out there, totally. But I don't know, I because we didn't get, it was such an intense season, for me as a viewer.
Yeah.
I like love when it's not like we were like not taking ourselves seriously, but it's like where's the fun? Like it yeah, I don't know. I loved it. I still crack up to this day watching it because I'm like, how did we get that in?
Yeah. And those are real dessert, like one. So I was in.
Do you remember where you got them from?
I think did they make them or did they made them?
No, they got it from somewhere, but like specifically for this, obviously, yeah.
And they're real, like, so they're, I don't know why I was very passionate about. So I was an egg donor, and one of the things I remember the most is this is going to be viewable by humans, but the pain that is excruciating, like someone, a light breeze, and it's like it was extremely painful. And Leah took that scene, came back. And I remember reading Exploding Nipples, and I felt seen. I felt so seen. And so I was like, and so then when I was like, there's a dessert that looks like nipple. I remembered from Amadeus. Actually, it's they're nipples of Venus, which is different, but I was like, there's something. And then the word was so, and apparently it's actually Stefania's one of her favorite actual desserts, somebody said when we were on set. So yeah, the term exploding nipples was genius from Leah's brain. And I want to thank you for that. It was the best way to describe it. And yeah, so I don't know why I'm saying that part of the story, but yeah, so in terms of like how it played out through the episode, the way something that was so painful could be funny and sweet, and a moment between them as a couple. But yeah, I mean, it was just a bit of fun after a really, like, some really heavy stuff in the episode.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's again, like, I wrote exploding nipples fully expecting it to fall out, and like a lot of our stuff, because again, I think Heidi and I are silly people. So we definitely pushed the comedy a lot in previous iterations of the episode. And until like we had to like really ground and but like a lot of things stayed in that I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
How did
always a
that pass
treat.
network?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff we were like, oh wow, that passed the network test too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like
It's such a-
shooting nipples,
Right.
okay.
Hey, whatever.
Cannot say.
No, but you made people feel seen. So you like
Yeah.
throughout the episode, whether it was the humor portion or like the pain. Yeah. No, I love that. Leah, I know you've got to go soon. So we don't want to keep you too long, but we did want to mention that a lot of people's questions also had to do with just like obviously a million Marina fans out there. But they I believe this was Lori. You've written some of the most pivotal Marina-centric episodes of the series. What aspects of their story means the most to you? Some examples of this were fan favorite, count my blessings scene, I'm coming home, and then like the carrying over the threshold. There's just so many monumental moments that you've gotten to write. And which were your favorites?
Hmm. Oh my God, that is so interesting. I never know until it's like you say it like that. I mean, so it's so interesting because I moved in with my partner at the beginning of the pandemic, like before I had like a year before I got this job, or about a year. So yeah, it's just kind of like, and it was sort of like we sort of U-hauled, but I blame it on the pandemic. But there was a lot of like learning about each other in the pandemic. Like the bulk of our relationship of establishing our relationship was during that like 1.5, 2 years of being cooped up. And then when I got this job and had to be on set, like that was sort of my first time outside of like in the world, so there was just like a lot of learning and growing and new territory for me, for both of us, but for me especially, this being my sort of like biggest first queer relationship. And now we're engaged, and now we're talking about family planning, so it's like we've had to like see. It's so weird how our trajectories, like I was saying earlier, like sort of paralleled.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest, I'm going to be rambling right now, but like one of the biggest things that I've learned is like someone, you can still be loved even if you've gotten into a fight, even if you're not your best self. I mean, that is something that I've learned from Marina's relationship. I joked, and I told one of our close couple friends a while ago that like, I'm like, yeah, my biggest fear is to like one day, like she's gonna realize that I'm a gargoyle, and then she's gonna like stop loving me, and I use that word like I somehow like tricked her into being with me, and she's one day gonna see how horrible I am. And of course, like we're in couples therapy. It's, you know, these are all things that I'm working through as a human being. But being able to see like Marina, like they've both been gargoyles to each other and like still love each other and they're there for each other. So like for me, I'm like trying to embrace my inner gargoyle, you know, like how do I, because my ugly, messy parts are just as much who I am, you know, and those parts are like lovable too. Oh my God, I'm gonna make myself cry. So I think just like getting to see those two people be like their ugly, horrible selves and like, you know, just like still love and support each other. Like when Maya has her fall and her health issues last season, Karina's not like, you know, if you don't get help, I'm gonna leave, you know. But I think just like the chemistry of my brain and what I've been through, like growing up and in childhood, like that is where my brain goes. It's like, oh, we're breaking up, you know. But to see two people who are like, no, you work through this, you know, you don't tap out, you know, and um you don't tap out and like you set boundaries too. Karina needed to set boundaries as well, but it wasn't like I'm we're breaking up, you know, but it's like until you get better, like I'm here, but also like see, I need to, I need to take care of here too. So that was like a big moment for Karina too. We like really, really put them through it last season. And I think we haven't that sort of strength with Karina was like really important to see her say like I've been through it and I love you and I'm going to be here, but I can't be here while you're like this. I mean, I think that was heartbreaking and we put him through it and then we earned the moment where we crossed the threshold. I mean, and it's a subtle thing, but like Karina like put her ring on, you know, she put her ring back on in the locker room and they crossed the threshold. And that was like such a beautiful, badass moment for Danielle to like pick up Stefania and like like she weighed like nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so for me, that was that scene was like a beautiful highlight to see, you know, and you know, that's sort of what has helped me in seeing these characters is like you have to be your whole ass self and you have to know that that person is gonna still love you even if, you know, even if in the ugly moments.
Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Oh, yeah,
Leah
just
is that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop saying nice things, but I just
We just love you.
Yeah.
I love you. I love you guys. I love Heidi. Yeah, I learned I'm just thinking right now, like it's so interesting that I said like all these ugly moments. Like those are like the highlights for me and for Maya and Karina specifically. I don't know why,
Yeah.
because those are like the real moments for me in the relationship, you know, is having to work through the muck.
Yeah.
and that's what makes it beautiful. And it's, you know, there's people living that, like you had mentioned, you shared your personal experience. It's real life. That's the reality of it, right? It's not just all butterflies and rainbows and beautiful flowers and everything's great.
There's some
things
dark
to work.
sides too. Yeah.
So,
That's why Station 19 is such an incredible show because that dark, like you see that in everyone. Like
Mhm.
I'm for me personally, I know I don't this isn't even a question. I'm just waxing poetic. But I didn't just feel seen in the room, I felt seen in the show. You know, like even Vic, never mind. But
Yeah.
like the caregiver, you know, that caregiver fatigue, it's so real. And, you know, I caregive, I have been a caregiver for my mother for a long time. And like to see that play out, like it was healing and, you know, Mello, Beresford, Alex, everyone in the room, just the way there are just pieces of us in all of these people. And
Yeah.
it's sad to see them.
And that's what we've always said
Yeah,
is
for a moment.
regardless regardless of who you are and where you come from, you can take a piece of every character on that show and relate.
And Leah's an
Um,
amazing person and writer, and I just, yeah.
I am an amazing, I'm more amazing and better as a writer because of Heidi. You know, I truly like because there was an episode shuffle when we found out about the news, and so we were paired together and like, oh wait, I don't know whether that
You just did a thumbs up.
And so we were paired together, and yeah, yeah, she's family to me now. So I'm like, you can't get rid of me. You know, I have to work with her again one day, like for sure. She's so incredible and funny, and yeah, I feel like we can read each other's minds pretty well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you two
it's
are a
just so
great team. Great team.
yeah, it's so easy to work with her. It's literally just like breathing. So
Aw.
I can't wait to work with her again. I do have to do my due diligence and shout out Alex Fernandez,
Yes,
who
please.
punched up Paula's dialogue um for Cameron Esposito. So like shout out to our girl for like bringing herself to Paula, because yeah, Paula, like, can we talk about Paula? Like Paula
Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. When we found out, you know, Cameron Esposito was gonna, I was like, yes. And a little, you know, and Christina Moses, like they're both from, you know, Million Little Things. So that was a cool moment to have them together in our, not together, but in our episodes and separate storylines. Yeah, that levity of Paula and Ben and Travis, Theo, and Johnny, like that was, we loved that story. We love to play in the humor. What that's
Yeah.
just
The line I will always be, you said Alex, and then it made me think of one of my favorite lines in the season is, look, honey, I'm a Viking. But then also Cameron in the vehicle, in the emergency service vehicle, the line about, I'm gonna send this to my ex, no note.
we were dead that on set that day, like because we told Cameron, like, you know, this is obviously your bag. If you have ad libs, you know. So yeah, the three of us, me, Heidi, and David, were just like so freaking thrilled to for Cameron to bring themselves to the role, you know. So yeah, I think that they were just excited to play, and all the ad libs that are not in, like there's so many floating around somewhere digitally, you know, on the in the Avid on hard drives, like so many amazing ad libs from that person. Yeah. So I'm thrilled. We're so lucky to have gotten to work with Cameron.
They did amazing.
Yeah. That segues into the next question. This is for both of you. If you could write a spin-off for Station 19, what characters would you bring? And what storyline would you focus on?
Well, everyone, it would just be Station 19 in the future, though. You know, I wouldn't want to lose anyone. I mean, I would want to bring people back, like, you know, like let's bring back Pruitt, let's bring back Dean, you know. I mean, of course, a spinoff would be like the fire department up north.
Yeah.
Would love
That would
to,
be amazing.
yeah, would love to see them involved more in with our people.
Mhm.
But yeah, I want to bring everyone back. Everyone's amazing. We have so much more to, we barely touch the tip of the iceberg.
True. Very true.
And
So
that's what makes it so brutal, right? And the whole fan movement of trying to save the show, and like us begging, like there's just, and I can only imagine you guys actually being involved in the show, and the cast, the crew, everyone involved, just the why. Like there's so much story to be told and so many important topics that stations never skirted around. They just go there, they bring awareness to it. I know as a viewer, I've eye-opening thoughts and realizations as I've watched the show, like the Maya getting talking to her 3-year-old self when she's going through therapy. I know that hit hard with a lot of us. And every time I watch that, I just start bawling. And I did not know that was a part of me that needed to be healed, and I'm like, wow, because of this show and something that a character is going through, someone's real life is affected by these things. And so it's just so beautiful. And we can't thank you all enough for bringing that into our homes every Thursday night. And we're like, but we want more. So we'll keep fighting. I mean, there's not much we can do, but we want this legacy to live on. That kind of character. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, thank you to you two for doing this podcast and being part of that movement, and to our fans. Like, this is the first show I've written on, so like I have nothing else to compare it to. So, any future job has a lot to live up to, but it's sometimes it isn't as tangible, that sort of like, we put out an episode, and sometimes you forget like that impact that it has with a lot of people. And so just getting to talk to you guys, getting to when I am on the social medias and I do like read the fan comments, like it's really, I mean, of course validation is important to me. So just like hearing that from you guys and seeing that was crazy. Like the fandom, like it was so incredible to see. Like I watched those videos too of people saying how much the show meant to them. Again, an out-of-body experience. I'm still pinching myself, like, is this even real? But I mean, I can't, it's a feeling like no other. Like I can't believe it. I can't believe it's over, but I can't believe so many people rallied for the show to stay on. Like, and that is just a reminder of like, even though in my regular life, I don't feel the tangibility of like, this writing, our episodes, not just my writing, but our writing, like maybe affected someone. Like, and when I'm getting my coffee, I don't think about that. But so it's just a really good reminder to think that like, that is happening, even if you're not seeing it. But, I am changed from writing these stories and from getting to co-write with Heidi and Stacy and Rochelle, and to like, work with every single one of the people. So like I can feel that internal change and validation. But, to hear you guys talk about what the show means to you is another part of a component of the experience, so I'm very grateful to y'all.
It's you all are amazing. The family that you made for all of us is amazing. This what you're doing, and the fight, and people like putting your resources as well into this, your time as well. Like it's the impact is felt mutually for sure. And that scene was one of the reasons that I desperately, was so excited to be a part of the show, to see that the journey written out. And thank you as well, like in this whole process and messaging, just sharing the pieces of your lives with us. And it just it creates community. I've never been a part of something that like it just, the ripples are so vast for story, and story is like that, but also we don't get to see or feel that. So thank you for all you do.
Yeah, it really feels like, yeah, we are a family now, like not just the room, but like the fandom. I hope we all are able to create the same sense of family in those environments, because it is so rare in our industry for this to, like, this is wild. Like, I mean, how amazing it is to have this be our first experience on a show. Yeah, nothing will ever compare to it, so yeah, again, I'm like, holy crap, like like it's wild to be here on
Yeah.
this, you guys. So
You're giving me a flashback of our table read for the episode,
Oh,
and the way like it was already incredible, but then like we get to cast the reading, and just like it's something so simple, but like Ben, who read Mason for us, was like, I want to make sure like they wanted to serve the story, they wanted to do their best in and it's a table read, which is important, but like just the family. Sorry, why am I crying? Sorry. But it feels that way even like in this moment, like in you reaching out to us to have this conversation, just like the small things that are, you know, for like all of us come from like different kinds of families, but to feel like you were part of something really supportive and functional is really and that it impacted so many people is the only reason, like is the reason that I wanted to do this in the first place. You can edit all of that out. Just cut.
you know, I'm like, I'm not crying, you're crying. Yeah. As you can see, we're big feelings people for sure. We're big. We have big feelings. We cried a lot together.
so do we. So do we.
3 a.m.
I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I really needed this, y'all. Like, this was some good therapy.